You're on the Unpopular Opinion Show with Johnny Caruso. Welcome to the show. Welcome. We got a good show for you today. If you go ahead and look up here to the top right, these are our topics of the day. We're going to get into them real quick. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. But without further ado, let's get into the first topic. Throw you to some clips of voters leaving the Democrat Party and their reasons why. And we got some clips. It appears some fraud in D.C. Police chiefs or somebody over there in D.C. cooking up the books so that they could purposely reduce the crime statistics by 20%. This happened in 2024, right before the election. I don't know if that's a coincidence. You tell me. But as we all know, Trump is in D.C. now. He says he has the right to be in D.C. to bring the crime down. People are going apeshit about it, saying he's being a dictator. So are they? Is he being a dictator, or they just love when the bad guy gets away? Which one is it? Are we playing good guy, bad guy? Cops and robbers, bad cop, good cop? What kind of games are we playing here? What's the deal? Does Trump really have the authority in D.C.? Is it just D.C. or the other states? We're going to get into that and more. Let's take it from the top.
Do you not understand that this is what the residents want? I'm not talking about the bougie upper echelons, bougie blacks. I'm talking about the everyday grandmas that have to deal with these homeless people peeing and pooping on their steps, and then they have to clean it up. They don't feel safe when they walk into their neighborhood. The gangs and the dope boys are just standing around the corner, do you not understand this is what they want? I remember working with a community leader and somebody had just gotten shot. This is like 5 years ago. And I remember her praying and she said, Crystal, we're going to have to invoke the National Guard. And that was so foreign to me. Now I understand these people are helpless. And I'm not talking about the bougie black people that live in their gated communities with their new bills. I'm talking about the everyday grandmothers. And I'm so glad that President Trump cares about them.
Now for Tempe Satcher, another D.C. resident, her son B.J. was gunned down in a random drive-by shooting on the way to work 2 years ago, and she does not feel that crime has calmed down.
Just today, a young lady was shot over on 15th Street in Northeast D.C. Does that seem like crime gone down? With all the things that are going on with our president, sending the National Guards out, I don't have a problem with that personally, because if MPD can't do it and they need help, then I'm glad they're able to get the help.
Let's look at the numbers there. There's a Washington Post poll that was published just a couple of months ago. 91% of Washington, D.C. residents said that crime was a serious problem, with half of D.C. Residents saying it was an extremely serious problem. So that's 9 out of 10 voters telling you crime is a problem. Don't tell them it's not a problem. In this Washington Post poll, where 9 out of 10 people in Washington, D.C. say crime is a big problem, the Washington Post explains that the opinion on crime is sharply divided along racial and economic lines. And guess what? Black voters and poor to working class voters are the ones who see crime as a more serious problem.
Right.
White voters and affluent people who live in Washington, D.C. do not see crime as as serious of a problem.
Voters have had enough of the Democrat Party. They have had enough. They leaving in droves. And it's funny if you look at that one last clip there of them protesting. All white people All white people. No black people from DC represented there. All white people talking about, policing and color and racism and police brutality. All white people in that scene. I mean, it's crazy. It's really crazy. Look, I'm gonna give my unpopular take at the end. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna throw you to this next video of them cooking the books in DC.
I think we have to be willing to say the quiet part out loud. And I think as Democrats, it's facing uncomfortable conversations about crime. Look, no one wants to put kids in jail or lock them away for life, but when we ignore a problem, we allow it to fester, and we don't target what the founding issue of the problem is. And I believe for DC, a lot of that has to do with our youth and with education. I mean, DC for 2022 to 2023 had about 40% of kids that faced chronic absentee. So that means they missed 10% or more of the school year. Well, where are those kids when they're not in school? They're outside causing a little bit of chaos. They're raiding grocery stores, drug stores. They're putting entire sections of the city under curfew. And the fact of the matter is the president is addressing something that is very real. We can live in this city and say it's a beautiful city, and we can also say that we have a chronic issue when it comes to our youth. See how the young folks might feel a little bit apprehensive because of who the messenger is, President Trump. But Lawrence, I mean, I'm sure you know this as well. When we were kids growing up, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., those were adult hours. And now when you go outside in this city, I see adults, but I also see a lot of children. And so we have to tackle what's happening in their homes, because guess what? These kids live in neighborhoods with other kids who want to succeed. When we ignore public safety, we reduce opportunity for a lot of these young children. And I think we do a disservice to these vulnerable communities when we aren't willing to have these conversations.
Yeah, Missy, you are so right. It was be home before the street lights are on. Every single night.
The D.C. police commander is under investigation for allegedly making changes to crime statistics in his district. Tonight, the police department confirms Michael Pulliam was placed on paid administrative leave in mid-May, a move that came just a week after Pulliam filed an equal opportunity complaint against an assistant chief. And the police union accused the department of deliberately falsifying crime data. News 4's Paul Wagner has the story tonight.
Well, hi there. The D.C. Police Union is putting its allegations on the record tonight, claiming police supervisors in the department are manipulating crime data to make it appear violent crime has fallen considerably when compared to last year. As of today, according to the D.C. Police website, crime is down 25%, a decrease the chairman of the police union calls preposterous. The union's allegations come as the former commander of the 3rd District stands accused of doing what the union says is being done day in and day out.
To areas where we know that
That's Michael Pulliam standing with the chief of police at a recent news conference. At the time, he was the commander of the 3rd District, which patrols the neighborhoods of Adams Morgan and Columbia Heights. In early May, 5 law enforcement sources familiar with the investigation tell News 4 Pulliam was placed on administrative leave with pay and told he was under investigation for questionable changes to crime data. A move that came just about a week after he filed an EEOC complaint against Executive Assistant Chief of Police Andre Wright, according to 3 law enforcement sources familiar with the complaint. The reasons for that later in this story. News 4 reached out to Commander Pulliam for comment. He denied the allegations against him and referred us to the public information officer. As for the union's allegations, Chairman Greg Pemberton laid it all on the table.
When our members respond to the scene of a felony offense where there is a victim reporting that a felony occurred, inevitably there will be a lieutenant or a captain that will show up on that scene and direct those members to take a report for a lesser offense. So instead of taking a report for a shooting or a stabbing or a carjacking, they will order that officer to take a report for a theft or an injured person to the hospital or a felony assault, which is not the same type of classification.
Greg Pemberton says the police department's command staff is focusing on 2 categories in order to get the numbers to fall. They are armed with a dangerous weapon, an injured person to the hospital.
When management officials are directing officers to take reports for felony assault, or if they're going back into police databases and changing offenses to felony assault, Felony assault is not a category of crime that's listed on the department's daily crime stats. It's also not something that's a requirement of the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program. So by changing criminal offenses from, for example, ADW bat or ADW gun to felony assault, that would avoid both the MPD and the FBI from reporting that as a Part 1 or a felony offense.
Pemberton says the union has been gathering evidence for some time now by looking at reports and talking with officers all over the city.
What we've heard through our members and through members of management that are willing to talk with the union is that this is a directive from the command staff, is that they want to make sure that these classifications of these reports are adjusted over time to make sure that the overall crime stats stay down.
As of last Monday, when we spoke with Pemberton, D.C. crime data shows violent crime was down 28%. Today, the department's website says violent crime is down 25% when compared to the same time last year, and overall crime is down 8%.
That's preposterous. There's absolutely no way crime could be down 28%. Last year, they suggested that it went down 34%.
And there's more to the story involving Commander Pulliam. In April, his wife, Captain Rachel Pulliam, was transferred by Chief Pamela Smith from the Youth Division to Midnights in the 7th District. Subsequently, according to 3 sources familiar with the incident and the timing of it all, Executive Assistant Chief Andre Wright ordered Commander Pulliam to pack up his wife's belongings from Youth Division and move them on his own to his wife's new assignment in the 7th District. Sources familiar with the complaint say Commander Pulliam viewed the order as retaliation. 5 law enforcement sources tell News 4 about a week later, Commander Pulliam's police powers were revoked. Now, Chief Smith declined an on-camera interview, but tells News 4 she cannot comment on an ongoing investigation. And as for the claims made by the union, Chief Smith released this statement. It says, "The Metropolitan Police Department is committed to upholding the trust and the confidence of the public. Any irregularity in crime data brought to my attention will be addressed immediately. I do not condone any official reclassifying criminal offenses outside the guidelines set in the MPD policy. Any allegation of this behavior will be dealt with through our internal processes, which will ensure those members are held accountable. I have the utmost confidence in the command staff leadership currently in place across the Metropolitan Police Department." And one other note, we did reach out to Chief Andre Wright, and he declined.
Right, there you have it. It would appear there's some book cooking going on in Washington, D.C. right before the election, or gearing up to the election. And now Trump is over there to get crime down. And in case you guys were wondering, Trump does have the authority in Washington, D.C. to take over the whole Washington, D.C. It's not a city, it's not a state, it's none of that. It's the one rare place where he could take over authority if he wants to. He couldn't do that in any other state. He would need act of Congress involved in other states. You can look it up. I'm not going to get into which specific, but when he enacted the law, he gave the code, which allows him to do that in D.C. And, you know, as you see, they were cooking the books. Everybody in their right mind knows crime was not down in D.C., it's actually up. And the minute Trump goes to go in D.C., with the National Guard to quell crime. We got a bunch of white people protesting it and saying crime is down 20%. You know, it's scary. It's scary what they can do when they could cook the books and tell you one thing and have you believe it. Because if you're sheltered, if you don't live around crime and you're tuning into the news and this is what they tell you, and then they tell you, well, what's Trump doing going in here? Crime in D.C. is actually down 20%. I mean, they're just regurgitating more criminal mischief behavior that's going on in the system. So the people in lower communities who the crime and the shootings going on, who really need help, who really need police to come and tackle this problem, they're not going to get the help because you keep misleading them and lying to them. That's how I feel about it. It's real simple what's going on. And if you ask me, there's a reason why the Democrat Party allowed all these illegals into the country. If you watch my other episode, you'll see how the asylum allows them work visas, which allows them social security cards, which many of them was able to get IDs to vote. Yes, of course, they could get counted in the census if they're in a sanctuary city, and that increases the delegates. They can also get IDs to vote. And they see they was losing the black population, and God forbid they lose the Latino population that's actually on the border with Texas that overwhelmingly voted Republican. God forbid they actually came here legal, and they don't want illegals coming into their backyard and crapping all over the place, right? So they voted against that. God forbid. And the Democrat mindset is that everybody's here illegally and came over free. You know what I mean? So we must have open borders. I mean, it's a shame. It really is a shame. Hope you found this video interesting. Give me a like or subscribe if you did. You are on the Unpopular Opinion Show.